So you would agree with me, Mr. Waters, that he doesn't have to turn it over to you unless he's going to use it in his case in chief?
Well, I will say this, that if we're talking about, that's why we need to process the reserve unprocessed sample. And then we can figure out, and almost certainly there's going to be enough for column A and column B. But I'm willing to do that and stop and then have a conversation with them. And that's what I've offered. That's the fair result. It doesn't prejudice anyone. And of course, the quantification is going to, determine how much material we have. And at that point, the scientists can analyze what is likely and what is reasonable. And I'm willing to involve them in that process. We just got to get to step one, and SLED can turn that around in just a couple of weeks. And then I will stop and give them a call, and we'll hash it out. And I'm 100% willing to make sure that there's no prejudice to either the state or the defense.
Your Honor, to respond to that email, and we discussed it, you have to understand the context. Before we tried the last case, they indicated there was blood spatter on a T-shirt. We wanted to examine it. We wanted to have it tested. SLED violated every rule known to man and destroyed the T-shirt in the process of processing. Now, it turns out that they also, when they processed it, determined it wasn't human blood. We didn't find that out till very late. But the point is, we want Optum, who is the gold standard, to do the quant piece. They want them to take that piece they've had for 5 years. Did they check it to make sure the first one was right 5 years ago? No. Now, when we have Optum, we better check that, so make sure we didn't screw this up. This is just a CYA. This has nothing to do with seeking justice. So I would say, let us have the unknown sample that hadn't been processed. Let Optum quantify it. Let them, and if it's not going to result in them losing their certification, don't test it. They've taken 5 years and not tested it. Why should we run the risk of them screwing that up? That if we screw up the quantification, we accept that. If they screw it up, we don't have a sample.
I understand.
And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because we went out there to SLED. We dressed all in, Mr. Waters with us, had on lab coats and went in there and examined the thing and took pictures, and then, we couldn't test it. I don't have any faith they won't screw this up. But whether you have faith in them or not, why don't we have an independent right to examine the untested DNA? Why don't we have that?
Your Honor.
Except there's some procedural issue about their certification. We have a right to a fair trial. We want to.
You have somebody from SLED here that can tell me about, if I give them this sample, you can't do an STR?
We do have Lieutenant Stanley from SLED.
Come up here and speak with me, but I'm going to put you under oath. Madam Clerk.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
Okay. All right, well, tell me how you lose your accreditation if I give them a sample and then you take the leftovers and, yeah, you can go right there at the podium. And you can't produce an STR that could be admissible in court. Is that what you're telling me?
Good morning, Your Honor. I am the quality manager for the laboratory, so my job is our accreditation and making sure that we are complying with accreditation standards. The DNA laboratory is accredited by the same entity as Othram, but in different capacities. We also follow the FBI quality assurance standards, or FBI QAS standards, that are put out by the FBI for DNA caseworking or testing laboratories, as well as DNA databasing laboratories. In order for us to accept data from, or accept a sample from another laboratory, they need to be accredited in the same services for us to continue our testing. So it's not necessarily losing accreditation, because we just wouldn't be able to accept it and perform the testing.
Well, let me ask you this. What if you got a sample and it was the only sample you had that had already been processed? just hypothetically, are you going to tell me that you're not going to do an STR on it and try to admit it into court?
We may not be able to, is what I would like to tell you. We share samples with Othram, for example, or third-party laboratories, but we're typically giving them the extract or the remaining portion, and they're able to work with that for their samples. We are unfortunately not able to work with theirs.
Why?
I'm not as familiar with the SNP testing, so that might, my understanding of that is it has to do with the standards that are followed for the accredited laboratories.
Okay. All right, thank you. Mr. Griffin, let me ask you this. If I give you the leftovers and I give you the unprocessed sample, you have it quantitative and you do your SNP test, and then you give them the leftovers, and they can do their STR test. Would you consent to it being admitted into court?
Yes, Your Honor. We wouldn't raise any objection as to the
To accreditation or
accreditation, chain
anything
of
like
custody,
that?
thing like that. Now, if there's some other irregularity in the process, sure, but not because of it flowed from Othram back to SLED. No, we would not object to that.
Okay. Anything else from the state?
Your Honor, just as to that last hypothetical that Your Honor stated, I think that the same thing would have to happen, that after processing, you have to stop, because only then are you going to know whether there will be leftovers. And that's the whole, what I'm proposing is we process and we stop. And at that point, we'll know whether there's going to be enough for STR on SLED and enough for them to have the leftovers of that. And that's exactly what I'm saying. But if they go ahead and run the SNP without consulting with us, there may not be any leftovers, is what I'm saying.
Well, let's talk about that, because why even get it processed if we're going to stop? Then what's going to happen?
So we'll know at the quantification point, we'll have an idea at that point that if we proceed with STR testing, whether there will be, like there was in the other examples, 47 or however many microliters of extract remaining for then to be provided to Othram, which again, the original leftovers were willing to provide. But the processing in the quant is where we kind of know what we have, and what if we do further with it, do actual testing with it, what is the consumption